Good to have you along. It is 3 and Out on this Thursday. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop, glad you were with us. A lot to get to here on the show. Josh Aubrey, Statesboro Herald, will join us. We'll talk Georgia Southern football with him as the spring game coming up on Saturday. Also, D. Orlando Ledbetter will join us from the AJC, and we are 1 week out from the NFL draft. What will the Atlanta Falcons do? We'll get to that with D. Orlando coming up in just a little bit. But the Braves, Ben, lose to the Dodgers. They lose two out of three. Are we now? It's like, just thank God it's over and you can move on, or what's your feelings here on a Thursday after that 3-gamer with the Dodgers?
I'm happy it's over. I think the Dodgers are kind of showing that what a guy like Freddie Freeman adds to that already incredible lineup. The Dodgers are always going to be the class of the National League, no matter what, regardless of who you are and what you are. Everything comes through LA, even if Atlanta is the defending World Series champs. I'm happy that it's over, Kevin, because I think sometimes, you think about, you're coming off the Padres, and you talk about Freddie Freeman, the Dodgers, you talk about the West Coast, getting back to normalcy, coming back home. Hopefully, it wasn't the worst thing ever. Like, you lost 2 out of 3 to the Dodgers. Okay, I get that part, but I know we're gonna get to a Dansby Swanson. How much longer do you let him play before you pull him, because he's definitely in his head right now? With everything that's not going on, I'm sorry, people. And I know it was about, the Dodgers. I know it was about Freddie Freeman. Matt Olson is balling out of his mind right now. And I think what happens, Kevin, is even with even Ronald Acuna, I know he's down there in Jacksonville, rehabbing and doing different things. There are some bright spots. The thing about this Dodgers team, they gonna make life rough on anybody they play. But I just think that for this Braves team, it's about just getting back to some level of stability. I think when you are the World Series champ, and it's a marathon every year. I'm not saying that, but now it's defending World Series champs. We get it. When is it gonna just be just getting back to just playing baseball? Getting back to like I say, the early, the early days of spring are gonna become the dog days of summer really, really quickly. I just think for this Braves team, get away from LA, get away from all things Southern California, San Diego and LA. And now you get back home, and hopefully, Kevin, you get back to, you want to win, but you want to get back to some level of stability. I think too often at times, it's almost like a trickle effect. If the bats ain't going, you talking about the starting pitching, you talk about the DH, you talk about the bullpen. Give me something to build off of, because, like I said, there's a young man wears number 13. I don't know how much pressure he's putting on Anthopoulos to get back, but I think the young man is going to be back sooner rather than later. So I think I want him to have something worth coming back to. That way, all the pressure is going to be on him, but I want him to come back to a team that's already seen to be playing well.
Yeah, he's the adding piece, not the thank God you showed up.
Yes.
But this is a team that's still, they lose to the Dodgers yesterday, scored 1 run. That was in the 9th inning, and kind of that trend continues of, if the Braves don't score you 7-8 runs, they're probably not going to win, seemingly. They just haven't been able to win a whole lot of 2-1 ball games to this point. And again, I think, to me, this was part of it. We talked Tuesday about the closure process with Freddie Freeman. And I think now that you've been through this series, to me, this is kind of the point where the season settles in and you just play, because so much the whole last homestand was, we won the World Series, to get things started. We're World Series champs. Let's celebrate that. Hell, let's celebrate Georgia's championship while we're at it. We're just going to do it all. And that had to be somewhat distracting, because it was a big city. Say, well, what does that matter when you get between the lines? When you just spent 30 minutes prior to the game getting your range and looking at it, it's like you are thinking about a lot of stuff other than, let's go out here and play today. I'm not saying it's affected everybody, but look at the guys that are back from this team and look at the guys that just got to this team. Matt Olson's ball. I'm not saying it's everybody, but it's like the guy that you would think had the most pressure is hitting 400. The guys that you were counting on are struggling a little bit. I had this in the notes for a little bit later. I'll go ahead and throw it out there. Ben, you have Matt Olson's hitting 400. Austin Riley's hitting close to 300. Congratulations to him. He just had a baby. Well, he did not play yesterday, but you got Ozzie Albies, Adam Duvall, Dansby Swanson, Rosario, Alex Dickerson, Guillermo Heredia. That's 6 guys. Now, granted, all of those guys don't play with. That is 6 guys who are batting under 220. Ozzie Albies hits some homers. He's batting 218. That's an all-star caliber second baseman who's off to a better start than certainly Dansby, but a slow start at the plate, nonetheless, batting .218. So I'm looking at this team, as you said, the bats have not been all that great consistently. Matt Olson's been good. Marcell Ozuna, another guy who missed pretty much all last year, he's been good at the end of the day. So I think now that you've got the Freddie thing behind you, the whole Dodgers thing, because that was emotional for Kenley Jansen as well, going back there, the whole build up to that. To me, now is the series, and maybe it helps also that you're playing the Marlins. Not that the Marlins aren't a good team. They're projected to finish probably ahead of the Nationals, but they're just not on the caliber of a Dodgers. It's not, and this series doesn't come with all the fanfare and emotion of what you saw in LA, of the, hey, everybody's going to get their rings. Now we're going to have the fans get their rings, and we're going to celebrate that. Now we're handing out, Silver Slugger awards. Like, settle in and just play baseball. As a team. And I feel like that's where we're at this point in the season. And I thought this first stretch, 14 games in 14 days, with all the emotion, the Freddie stuff, was going to be interesting. They came out of it not awful. I mean, they're just at a couple games under 500, but I feel like now's where hopefully some of these guys can set some of that stuff in the rear view and say, hey, now it's just time to settle in and play baseball.
Time to settle in, time to start building some confidence, time to start building some stability. It's time to start getting more reliable in all phases of the game. I mean, give the starting pitchers some runs. That way, whomever's on the mound can play with a lot more confidence. Not saying they can't go out there. I mean, I just think that there are some, Kyle more than those guys. You got some good things to go off of, Kevin, but it's not enough of them. It's spurts of them. I mean, you finally get a run in the ninth inning. I mean, the Braves were getting no hit at a certain point. I think when you talk about this Marlins team now, obviously the Braves have some bad blood when it comes to the Dodgers, but that's usually in the playoffs. They got bad blood when it comes to the Marlins. And for that young man we just mentioned, Ronald Acuna. Now, he's obviously not going to be on the team, for this stretch. I'm going to say this right now. If a Marlins pitcher hits a Braves hitter, benches should clear, because at a certain point, Kevin, they should clear for two reasons. One, who the hell is the Marlins to be throwing at people? Number one.
Well, it's been mostly Acuna, but
number one. And number two, I think the Braves kind of want to get out some frustration. Like, hey, but I want to hit something. I want to do so. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that sometimes I don't understand, because Kevin, you have to tell me. I understand when it comes to the rules, the hidden rules. When it comes to baseball, you got this young phenom. Let me show him. I'm not. But give him something to hit. And quit scared he going. But he go yard on y'all all the time. So I think that. For me, Kevin, I do agree. Getting back to just playing winning baseball doesn't mean you're going to win, but at least you're playing winning baseball. And I do think that with all the guys you just mentioned that's hitting, 200 or less, I mean, those guys got to start contributing, because if the bats, I don't need every bat to be electric, but I don't need it to just be Olsen and Austin Riley. I mean, it's going to have to be more of a collective effort. And if they can get back to their winning ways with the Marlins, how much confidence does it build for this team? Because like I said, it's all about winning the series. I get it. It's all about, winning in your division. I get it. But the game is not won or lost in, the first 2 weeks of the season. But I am happy that this is over with, because like I said, Freddie Free being with the Dodgers just makes it even worse, because when he hit 2 homers, I mean, watch Cardinal. I mean, his first at bat. I mean, he go yard against him. So I just think that for this Braves team, get back to your winning ways with the Marlins. Don't play down to the Marlins, please. And hopefully, Kevin, we've been looking at a team that's over 500 going into the series below 500.
I mean, just look at it, and usually baseball is a game of trends and runs, and you just look at this lineup and you say, this can't continue, right? I mean, like, it just the averages of baseball have to start swinging in their favor. I mean, you can't have 2 and 3 guys hitting under 100. Right? I mean, Alex Dickerson, a DH, Rosario's had to come in and out hitting under 100. Dansby Swanson's at like 143. It's like, this just can't seemingly continue throughout the entirety of this lineup. And now you really see 4 guys are going okay, and everybody else really riding that struggle bus here early in the season. So much to get to, as we talked about, Ben. Josh Aubrey going to join us, Statesboro Herald, in just a couple moments. Looking forward to talking with him about Saturday. What is he looking for from Clay Helton? And, does Clay Helton kind of feel the pressure in the first? I mean, it's not like Nick Saban's like, hey, this is our 13th spring game in Alabama. Like, I don't care if you like what we do or not. The first one, to me, when there's a lot of excitement around the coach, is always interesting, because there is some like, this is what we're going to be. Now, are you showing everything? No. Are you vanilla? Probably, but you don't want vanilla to look bad, right? I mean, you don't want to say, hey, we played vanilla. Well, coach, you only scored 3 points in a 4-quarter scrimmage. Well, I mean, it's like, no, you want it to look somewhat good.
Yes.
So, I mean, you're kind of setting the tone.
Oh, yeah, he got to do the opposite. The first year coaches got to do the opposite what the coach has been there. You got to show some excitement. I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, because if not, Kevin, you know how it is. The one thing about the Georgia Southern faithful, they spoiled now. I mean,
they expect you to come in and win.
And the thing is too, why not? Like, I get okay. It's called a spring game. What it really is, right? It's half working, half excitement, right? I want to work on some things, but DBs, let them catch a touchdown. It's fine. It is fine. Like, I get it. Like, I think sometimes we make such a big thing about he threw a pick and listen. You don't think the defense know what the offense has been doing? They've been going against each other the last month. You don't think that DB don't know that out and up fixing to come? They know. You still can't hit the quarterbacks. Have some fun. Come out relatively unscathed, no injuries. And Coach Helton, if you bring a former Georgia Southern Eagle there, make sure you tell those guys to pass on. Let them throw the ball. I mean, Josh Hamilton is about to throw the pass to Calvin Johnson. And that might have been the best defensive player. I mean, I said, yeah, Coach Collins, listen, did you not tell them? I mean, Joe Ham get the, and I'm going Georgia Tech on me and BJ Kevin, is that Coach Collins' first one? And you know what Coach Collins did? The very first play, they were in the triple. And people look like, what? They said check, and they got an and people clap. Now, it hasn't really been the prettiest thing since, but that's what he's working at. If you Coach Helton, hey, man, you better do something. Make an announcement. We run the triple to do something. But, yeah, Kevin, be exciting. You know, have some fun out there. Make some plays. But you probably going to have a lot of Georgia Southern faithful in the crowd watching, saying, okay, I want to hear about this Helton dude. I've come from a long way to hear, so we'll see. But I think Helton understands this time.
Yeah, we'll chat with Josh Aubrey, Statesboro Herald, when we come back. This is 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. And Georgia Southern's got their spring game coming up this weekend, this Saturday in Statesboro. Clay Helton will take his team out there for the first time for public eyes to see. And joining us here from the Statesboro Herald, Josh Aubrey joins us. Josh, welcome. How are you?
Hey, doing good, Kevin. Thanks.
Appreciate you coming on and joining us. So Clay Helton, obviously he had a lot of time in the fall to get to know his team. He's had a chance to go recruiting. Saturday's kind of the first time he'll be out there in front of everybody in mass. What are you expecting?
You know, I think he's probably going to keep it fairly vanilla. You know, they've kind of put restrictions on us as far as taking pictures or video. Now, I have sat through the scrimmages and I've been very impressed. But I don't know how much of that he wants out there. So he may go a little more vanilla than what they've been working on so far in the spring. Or then again, I don't know, it might be time to unveil to the public, you know, what they can expect. I think there'll be a good crowd out there. And, you know, I've been really impressed by everything around the program right now.
And Josh, I mean, obviously, when you talk about something like a spring game, I mean, most coaches are going to keep it vanilla. But do you think it's still going to be some element to the flair? I know that Coach Helton is a guy that's very, very established. I mean, everybody, you know, obviously he sent shockwaves when Jared Binko was able to go land him when he was the first guy to essentially get let go. When you talk about last year's coaching carousel, do you think he gives some sentiments of some level of excitement just to kind of seem like he's appeasing to the crowd?
I would think they want to sell tickets. I would think that Jared Binko wants him to do as much as he can to try to keep the people out there happy. I imagine, you know, we're going to probably see some impressive things on offense. I've really loved what I've seen from Kyle Van Treese. He's the quarterback who's come in from Buffalo, and he can really spin it. And he's one of the first quarterbacks I've seen in a while who you see do check downs. I mean, you just don't see that at Georgia Southern because it's primarily a run option-oriented team, so you just haven't seen that kind of stuff. But they've got guys out there making plays, and I tell you, the number one area where I've thought Georgia Southern has struggled in the past few years has been the offensive line. I have watched those guys quite a bit. They're led by Richard Owens, who comes to Georgia Southern from UAB, where he did a heck of a job there. He also played 4 years at Louisville, spent 5 years in the NFL. This coaching staff that Helton has put together have got some really impressive credentials, and I think a lot of them took some pay cuts to come to Georgia Southern, and I think people are going to be pleasantly surprised by some of the things they see out there with especially that offensive line, who I think have struggled the past few years. They have done a really good job in the scrimmages so far with pass protection especially.
Josh Aubrey, Statesboro Herald, joining us here on 3 and Out. You mentioned the quarterback, Kyle Van Treese. I know that you have Zagleski, Cam Ransom, some guys back there. Is it Kyle Van Treese, best you could tell, is going to be the guy that's your number one after spring's over? The
only thing that would stop that is if somebody came in through the portal that was just going to knock your socks off. I can't see anybody taking Kyle Van Treese's spot. He carries himself like a vet, you know, like that he is somebody who started in college football games before. Sigelski has impressed me because it seems like he's moved himself into the number 2 spot currently right now. And Cam has struggled in all the scrimmages that I've seen. It looks like down to like the 3 guy right now. And they've got a couple of freshmen with David Dallas, who hasn't been able to play in the spring, but he's been there. He's had a little bummed up shoulder, but he should be back. And then Zach Roseman's the other quarterback, who's a true freshman, who's looked pretty good. But I still think there's going to be some noise after the spring with the transfer portal, with Georgia Southern getting a few guys. Whether that's a quarterback, I don't know. I would imagine maybe a couple offensive linemen, maybe a couple linebackers.
And Josh, speaking of different things in the spring, I mean, utilizing the tight end a lot in the latest package. I mean, a new wrinkle to the offense. Talk about the tight end position and how Coach Helton is, kind of taking something out of the book of when you look at what tight ends bring to the table now, both collegiately and the National Football League. Talk about what them tight ends been showing in Statesboro.
Yeah, well, in the last scrimmage, they threw a couple of seam routes to the tight ends that worked really well. I've been impressed by the guys that they've been able to rotate in. Now, the number one guy returning is probably Bo Johnson, but so far they've had other guys stepping up. Ethan Durham is a guy that comes to Georgia Southern from Mercer. He's a 6'2", 225-pound junior, and he made a couple of touchdown catches where he went right down the middle of the field and made a couple of athletic plays. So I think they've got a little bit of depth at tight end. That might be a position that they might go out and get another transfer guy. But right now they look pretty solid there. And Brian Ellis, from Western Kentucky, is the offensive coordinator. He knows a lot about putting up points and throwing the ball. And it seems like they're finding a lot of different ways to be able to get different people involved.
I was going to say, Josh, is this an offense that's obviously coming out of Chad Lunsford's style? You're set up to run the ball with what you recruited. Do they have enough to kind of make it 50-50, or is this a team that's still going to run it a lot, or do you expect to see a whole lot of flinging it around?
I expect that it will be a lot closer to 50-50 than right now. It might be in the scrimmages. They may be throwing it a little bit more just to kind of get used to it because they feel like maybe they know what they're doing on the ground. Now, with Jalen White, Gerald Green, and J.D. King coming back, I think they're pretty stacked at running back. The problem in the past has been that the offensive line, to be honest, from what I see, a lot of times has not opened up the holes for those guys. Now, in the scrimmages, when they've had to run, they've looked all right. It's been a lot of draws. They're playing a single back offense, so there's only one running back there, which is real unusual for Georgia Southern. But I think they've got enough with running backs, but I really do expect it to be closer to 50-50.
Josh, how has the defense been looking this spring?
Yeah, well, their defensive coordinator that they brought in, Will Harris from Washington, is another guy that's just really impressed me when I've talked to him, when I've been able to watch what they do. They do a lot of attacking. Now, I don't know if they're holding some back. They return a lot of guys, up front. The defensive backs look pretty solid. They've got a couple of young guys they're working in. The one area that I think is where they might go after some transfer guys and where they really kind of struggled a little bit last year, and that's at linebacker, which is unusual because that's where Georgia Southern has usually been pretty solid. Right now, their linebacker core is still maybe a little thin, but overall, the defense I expect to be one of the strengths of the team, especially up front where they've got a lot of fourth and fifth year guys coming back, some six.
Josh Aubrey, Statesboro Herald, joining us here on 3 and Out. Special teams obviously has looked pretty good. Georgia Southern's really kind of built quite the pipeline there with special teams. Brenton Williams has looked good. I would imagine they have to feel pretty confident with what they have there.
Yeah, they've got an all-conference guy, as far as the punting duties go, but they're also, I've really been impressed. I guess I saw Britton play when he was at Richmond Hill, and I was real impressed by what a big leg that he had. And he, to me, in the scrimmages I've seen, he's been pretty automatic, and he's got a big leg. I think a little bit of the accuracy was maybe an issue that they saw coming in, but Alex Rayner's there, and then they got another guy, Bryce Christensen, who's looked pretty good as well. So I think they're looking pretty good in the special teams areas right now, and like what they've been seeing from that group.
I know when a new coach comes in, it's all about trying to establish what he's trying to do, from a team-wise, but he's also trying to build a culture. In a very, very short amount of time with Coach Helton, what have been your early impressions of him as saying, one, trying to rebuild, everything there in Statesboro, but also trying to establish a new culture there?
I guess it just seems, and it's not a knock, because I really like Chad Lunsford and his staff as far as the people go. Really good guys, but I just feel like these guys, it seems a little bit more, I don't know if professional is the right word, and not to say that they were unprofessional before, but there's no music going on during practices, during scrimmages. They did play at the very end for the last play. They put some music on, and the kids seemed pretty excited about it. But, there's a lot of coaches on the sidelines from other schools. There's a lot of players. There's a lot of big guys, a lot of transfer guys looking at possibly coming to Georgia Southern. They've been, the sidelines have been pretty filled. It seems like he said it felt like a NFL preseason kind of feel to it. And I think I see that as well. His dad was down, Kim Helton, who has coached a lot in the NFL as an offensive line coach, was at UAB with some of these guys. And I talked to him, and he just said he feels like Clay is happy. And I think, when he was at USC, he had to keep a lot of the guys. This is his first chance to kind of put together a staff from scratch. And I think he's very optimistic, and justifiably so, because they seem like they know what they're doing. It's always hard to get a perfect gauge in the spring because they're only playing against each other. But I've been pretty impressed by what I've seen, and I would be very shocked if they are not a lot better than they were last year this season.
And Josh, that was going to be kind of my next question of where do you see this team right now? Obviously better, but you're talking about an expanded Sun Belt now with Marshall and Old Dominion, James Madison and Southern Miss coming in. Obviously, App State and Coastal Carolina have been top 25 programs. So where do you feel this team can be in year one where, the Sun Belt has made great strides top to bottom, where, finishing fourth or fifth in the eastern side of the Sun Belt might not be too shabby considering some of the competition?
Well, they were 3-9 last year. I would say when you're bringing in, you're gutting the offense, you're doing something brand new. I think most fans, if they're realistic, which they aren't in Statesboro, I'm sure you know that, but I would think most fans should be happy with a 5-win, maybe a 6-win season. To me, I think this team can win 6 or 7 games, and I'm usually a little pessimistic going into the season, but I think that this could be a very quick turnaround, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them win 6 or 7 games and definitely go to a bowl this next season.
Josh Aubrey, Statesboro Herald, our guest here on 3 and Out. Josh, appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Josh Aubrey joining us here talking Georgia Southern as the spring game coming up. And we did see Chad Lunsford go from 2 wins up to 10. So an 8-win improvement. I'm not saying no pressure, Clay Helton. You're not going from 3 to 10 or 3 to 11. But again, how much better could this team be? And I know coaches use this as a cliche sometimes, Ben, but we're a better team than the record indicates. I don't know if you can go with that in year number 1 because the Sun Belt is going to be very good, but I do think Clay Helton's got some talent coming in where they should be better on the win column as well.
Absolutely. I think Coach Helton, as Joshua stated, he's a guy that's understanding the look. I'm not trying to take away what makes young people go. Like we was talking about the music at the practice. He's saying, look, I'm not gonna have it to where we just vibing throughout practice, man. We here to get work done. We installing a total different system on offense and defense. A lot of different faces on offense and defense. A lot of different coaches, on offense and defense and special teams. So let's get used to each other. Now at the end of practice, all right. We can kind of give you guys a little bit of a reprieve, but then at the same time, winning makes so that all that stuff don't matter. Like, I don't think a team wins or loses because of the atmosphere of practice. A team wins or loses because practice, they get it into what comes Saturday, what type of product's going on the field. But Coach Helton is also understanding this too, Kevin. At the end of the day, you have to win in Statesboro. All that other stuff don't matter. Coach Lunsford's biggest, competition or his biggest adversary was him. You mentioned from 2 to 10. Don't nobody expect you to go from 2 to 10 to 6 to 3, regardless of what's going on around you, because you know who's gotten better? Coastal Carolina. You know who's winning the division? Louisiana. You know who's still the class of it? App State. You know who you can't beat? Georgia State. You got to get back to competing at the top level. And I'm sorry, adding what? Southern Miss, Old Dominion. Yeah. That's not going to make life easy, but you still got to go out there and compete.
We've got more to come. Here it is, 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Great to be here with you on this Thursday, 1 week away from the NFL draft, Ben, and certainly the Jags are on the clock already. People talking, Aiden Hutchinson and who could the Jags take there at number one, if not Aiden Hutchinson, Trayvon Walker, Evan Neal, a lot of possibilities there for Jacksonville. But one other thing that's interesting, Ben, you were talking about this before the show, like a lot of these wide receivers now are starting to get you called it the diva complex. Like, hey, you just had a great year and now you don't want to do all the things that made you great to get you paid. And Deebo Samuel saying he wants to be traded from San Francisco. Now, obviously, if you want to be traded, most of the time you want to go to a contender. But, I mean, if you're Atlanta, would you take a look at that, trying to get him? Or would you just say, look, we got in this mess because we were overpaying some guys. I'm just drafting a wide receiver. If you're Atlanta, would you do that?
I mean, you got to take a good, strong look at it. I mean, think about it, Kevin. I mean, the one thing that we're not talking about a lot as far as like this Atlanta offense is Ridley. Really made this offense really, really different when he decided that obviously he wanted to step away from football. Then when he stepped away from football, I mean, they were supporting him. Then you come to find out he was gambling, and now he's not going to be with the team for another year. And when he comes back in 2023, who knows what's going to be the disciplinary actions when it comes to him. Deebo Samuel is a guy that while he was incredible last year with what he did, kind of like not kind of like a shorter, quicker, faster, more elusive Cordell Patterson. That's what he was. Like first team All-Pro. I think right at 80 catches, 1,400 yards. But while we was enjoying him doing all that, he didn't like it. I don't want to play running back. I want to play receiver. And the Christian Kirk effect. They look at what Christian Kirk got. Christian Kirk ain't never been on first team All-Pro. Christian Kirk ain't never been on Pro Bowler down there in Jacksonville, and he got a big time contract. Then you look at Tyree Hill. Now Tyree Hill is a top five, top two, top three receiver. No matter who you talk to, he gets a huge contract to go to Miami. All these guys, Deebo Samuel, he's coming off a year that we might not see again as far as like what a receiver / running back meant to his team. But Kyle Shanahan is the guy that's going to get a good running back, whether you have a running back's body or you are just going to play running back and receiver. And it seems to be he don't want to be there no more. And Kevin, just like I know, once superstars declare they don't want to be in a place, it's better to just move on from them because they're gonna tear the locker room in half. We're gonna be talking about them now. Whatever Deebo Samuels don't show up to, they're gonna be asking, is he not showing up because of the contract? Because he don't like the offensive coordinator? Because he don't like how they're using him and so on and so forth. But yes, if you are Atlanta, you definitely give him a call. Now, I'll say this. I don't know how much of a call is going to last because you ain't got no money. Like, it ain't like Atlanta got
but it's a trade. So
I think in a trade, I think you possibly could get a guy like Deebo. Let's face it, man. Do I think Deebo Samuels played out of his mind last year? Yeah. Do I think that 2021 was like a flash in the pan? Could be. Because Kyle Shanahan, he can call plays. Like, make no mistake about it. Like, Kyle Shanahan is masterful at calling plays. How do I know? Jimmy Garoppolo went to a Super Bowl. So, say what you want about Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan should have won both Super Bowls he was in. One with the freaking Falcons. Check out of it, Matty Ice. And two, if obviously, Jimmy Garoppolo can hit Emmanuel Sanders down the seam, Kansas City would not be hoisting up that Lombardi trophy. That would have been the then San Francisco 49ers. But yeah, Kevin, I mean, you definitely, Terry Fontenot got options, man. You number 8, that means you're going to get 7 guys
now
go in front of you, but we will see.
Now, an intriguing option that could happen is for Jacksonville. A lot of people say you're still looking for that dynamic playmaker, right? You have Christian Kirk. You have some guys that have certainly helped you bolster your wide receiver core. But you still could use that dynamic playmaker. If you're Jacksonville, you got a bunch of picks, right? You got a bunch of picks. Would you try to trade for Deebo Samuel? And I say this, it was announced today that the Jaguars are set to hire Ethan Wall as assistant GM. You go, well, who's that and what difference does that make? Ethan Wall, currently the vice president of player personnel with the San Francisco 49ers. Read today he's been with San Francisco 14 years. He's going to join the Jags after the draft. Think he might know a little bit about how Deebo Samuel plays, whether or not he would fit. I mean, I know you technically ain't joining the Jags till after the draft, but you don't think there might not be an email exchange or a phone call exchange with Trent Baalke saying, hey, Trent, you got a lot of picks. Looking for a playmaker. There's a guy that wants out in San Francisco. I can tell you he wants out because I'm in the building. Might be worth looking into if you're Jacksonville. Is he a guy that will be worth some draft capital to try to go pursue?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you think about what Debo brings to the table. One, all right, if you get Ethan Walk, if he gets in the building, that means one, they're saying Trip Ballke, listen, man, you the guy, right? But you need to kind of time.
Well, I think Shot Conti even said we need more voices in the room. We need more guys.
We need. Let's call it what it really is. I need guys that resonate with the players that I'm drafting. I need guys that can resonate with today's athlete. Tom Coughlin didn't resonate. He's gone, right? Tom Coughlin goes to the Giants. Let me go on my rant real quick about Tom Coughlin. He goes to the Giants, Kevin. The only reason why he won is when he started resonating with the players. When he got off that, if you're 5 minutes early, you're late. If you all this nonsense, right? You get a guy, like Ethan Wall. He comes in, right? He knows that Debo, one, he wants to play. Two, he wants to play with a big-time quarterback, with Trevor Lawrence. All right, second-year quarterback. Three, he wants to be able to be a headliner. All right, they got Christian Kirk, right? So you go Christian Kirk, potentially Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, Debo Samuels, maybe Marvin Jones, right? That are your 4 receivers. Then you got Laviska Shenault. That are your 5th receiver. Then you got James Robinson. Then you got Travis Etienne.
And Evan Ingram.
And who's throwing the ball? Trevor Lawrence. That sounds deadly to me because you got to pick your poison now. Now, Travis Etienne, the jury's still out. Haven't seen him play, but we know what he is. Like, we know what he is, right? James Robinson, undrafted free agent, earned a name for himself, was the best player on the team 2 years ago, taking that away from the rest of the squad. You had a guy like Debo. One, this what you got to do to Jalen Ramsey, though, Kevin, when Jalen Ramsey went to L.A., Sean McVay said, he said they had a closed-door meeting. He said, look, Jalen, we want you. You ain't finna be pulling that stuff you did when you was in Jacksonville, right? Ain't nothing wrong with nothing wrong with your shoulder then, ain't nothing wrong with your shoulder now. And he said, we're going to take care of you. I think you're talking about Jacksonville, a guy like Debo. Now, if you getting a GM that understands Debo, who said, look, man, I make sure I tell that offensive coordinator. It's part of this. I'm not playing running. A big reason why he had to play running back last year because the running backs was hurt. But you got 2 now. He can give you, he gave you almost 80 yards. 80 catches, 1,400 yards. Like 7 touchdowns at receiver, and you talking about the load he put on him. So if a running back, Kevin, you put him in the offense and the division, Jacksonville could be contending early, man. Because I'm telling you, he's still 24 years. He's still in his rookie deal. Like we had Debo Samuel, he ain't but 24, 25 years old, young boys. So I do think if you pick up that phone to call because you want a Drake London, you'll want a Chris Olave. Yeah, you'll want a Garrett Wilson. Yeah, you'll want a Traylon Burks. They ain't Debo. Why? Because Debo is a first-team All-Pro. That means him and Devontae Adams were considered the 2 best receivers in the league last year. Most guys won't even make a Pro Bowl, let alone a All-Pro. Yes, Kevin, you definitely give him a call.
Before we have to step aside, you haven't done it the whole segment. You haven't done the D. You haven't done.
I'm sorry.
You haven't done the deep the whole time. I was expecting that to cut off from the beginning.
I know BJ would love this. They'll be like, oh, hold on. They'll say, listen, at receiver. Out of the University of South Carolina, Debo. Whoa!
I just can't.
Hey, that's how you know. That's how you know Debo got me. Debo out because all the time Debo play with them game cards like you had to say. But listen, Kevin, you know what? But you know who I'm not happy for? If Debo goes to South Carolina, if we got to go to Jacksonville, I deal with BJ. With his Travis Etienne, Trevor Lawrence, Debo, Evan Ingram. But what does it sound like? Is what I say? If you want to win in the NFL, Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, ACC, Debo, SEC, Josh Allen, SEC, Cam Robinson, SEC, Jawan Taylor, SEC, Aiden Hutchinson, Big Ten. We'll see what happens.
We got more to come. Here is 3 and Out, Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back here, 3 and Out on this Thursday. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop here with you. I'll take 3 around the corner. D. Orlando Ledbetter joining us. AJC in about 25 minutes on the show. We'll look at the Falcons and their draft 1 week out, and maybe the best kept. I mean, it's all pretty well kept secrets for the most part, Ben, but the Falcons, we've had numerous guys on and said point blank, hey, what are the Falcons doing? I don't know. Do the Falcons know what they're doing?
Nope.
I don't know. Well, I think, I mean, they probably have a few guys in mind, but again, you're in a complete rebuild here for Atlanta. And it's probably the easiest and hardest thing to do at the same time when you sit down with your scouts and your coaches and say, fellas, what do we need? Yeah, you, coach, by my assessment, we need everything. So when you said everything, actually, Young Wei Koo's good. We're good at kicker. Outside of that, we need everything. we need everything. We need everything else to make this roster better. So who should we pick in the first round? It doesn't matter. Pick somebody. That's good. But again, I'm interested to see what kind of their thinking is. Do they address the offense? Do they address the defense? As Ben has said, and I'll give you credit for saying this. I mean, Matt Ryan filled a lot of holes because you were pretty weak last year, and Matt Ryan managed to scrape you together some wins just because he could. So now that he's gone, Marcus Mariota, is he going to be able to scrape together those same wins? I don't think so. So we'll ask D. Orlando about all that.
It's gonna be an uphill battle, Kevin. You know, just like I know, when you got stability at the quarterback position, it makes everything go because I can go address other positions, but there is no Matty Ice. There is Marcus Mariota. I know we got Alden Tate. I know we re-signed, Cordell Patterson. Mike Davis is back. Jake Matthews is saying we're not in a rebuild. Jake, I ain't never even heard you talk. And when you finally do, you say, of course you're in a rebuild. You bring in Lorenzo.
The Bucks and Panthers and Saints are shaking at that roster you just threw out there.
Listen, like I said, thank God y'all the biggest people walking around Flowery Branch, because outside of that, they wouldn't know who none of y'all was. But hey, man, Terry Fontenot, go out there and earn your money.
I'll be interested to see what D. Orlando, if he has any inkling as to what they might do.
D. Orlando pulls no punches.
He does not. I mean, he's like, hey, they're bad. You gotta get these guys off the field. But I mean, as he sees this draft assessment, I mean, you hate to say there's no way you could screw it up, but there's really almost no way you could screw this up, right? I mean, like, who would they, if they called somebody's name at 8, who would that be that would make you say, we got like a minute? Who would that be that would make you say, oh my God, like there's not anybody in my book, like,
if it's a running back,
outside of something stupid.
Like, if it's a running back, I'll be like, what? But outside of that, Kevin, safety, bring him on. Corner, bring him on. O-lineman, bring him on. Defensive end, bring him on.
Yeah.
I mean,
like, obviously you're not taking the kicker punter in the first round, and running back you probably don't need to. But outside of that, like,
yeah, I mean, in a sense, right there, like, it's the fellas, listen, what the Falcons?
Rate your board and take the best guy. Or trade back, which I would
need best available. And we need, listen, what your boy say, Thomas, Troop, what y'all got? We got everything on here, coach. We need everything.
Yeah.
That's my assessment.
Yeah, my assessment is pick somebody. Well, that's
my assessment says we need help.
Yep.
Help us.
Yeah, help. That's what we're paying you for. Have you seen the roster? Pick somebody. Well, D. Orlando will join us coming up next hour. We'll take 3 when we come back. This is 3 and Out. Hit us up on Twitter at Pigskin Radio. Also streaming live, ESPNCoastal.com, and Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Welcome back. Hour 2 of 3 and Out. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop. Glad you're making us a part of your day. So much to get to this hour. D. Orlando Ledbetter, he will join us. We're talking Falcons with him. As what are they going to do in the draft? It's anybody's guess at this point. So we'll get his latest a week out from the draft. What is Atlanta looking to do? And how plausible, Ben, you and I both talked about trading back. Again, it's nice to say, can you actually do it? Especially when people are talking about the softness of the draft and, are there enough teams that would be enticed enough to move up into the number 8 spot. I heard somebody put out there today, there's not a lot of teams that want to move to 2 and 3. Maybe number 1, but the Jags probably ain't giving that up. But not many teams excited at least a week out about moving up to 2 or 3, maybe backside of the top 10. So we'll see if what D. Orlando has to say about that. But first, we take 3 here on 3 and Out. Ben, take 1. Hawks down 2-0. To the Miami Heat. Are they done?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. I mean, Kevin, can they make it a series? Yes, but are they going to win 4? Are they going to win 4? Of the next 6? No. I just the thing about this Hawks team that's very, very frustrating is it's not like they're not in the game, man. But I think the thing about it is nobody saw Jimmy Butler going for freaking 45. Like, how do you account for that? I mean, is Jimmy Butler a superstar? No. I mean, Jimmy Butler has been a complimentary piece since he came into the NBA from his days, with Chicago and with his days in Minnesota, now with the Heat. Jimmy Butler is the perfect piece for a Miami team that has, they got a bunch of alpha dogs out there, man, that play big. But I do think, Kevin, they're going to win 1, maybe 2 in this series, but they are done. I think this is a Hawks team that you getting exposed a lot from what you lack mentality-wise, what you lack defensive-wise. You got to have who's the complimentary piece, or who's the Robin to Trey's Batman? That's I mean, yeah, okay. I mean, Herter, he has nights. DeAndre Hunter has nights. Collins has nights. Bogdanovich has nights. Capella has nights. But it's never consistent. Trey's gonna be Trey. But Jimmy Butler said, okay, I give you 45. 45 points means I've given you enough points for 2 people, and I'm one man. Who can account for that over that? You can't. Even if Trey gave you 30, I still fit, and that's not counting his defensive presence. So I hate to say it, man. This Hawks team, we learned a lot out of them. I mean, if they aren't done, that'll just prove that them guys, they got something left for the team. But you know how hard it is. How it is extremely hard in any series to be down 0-2 and win it. BJ with the numbers game. The numbers are not in your favor when you're down 0-2. So they're gonna make a game. They're gonna make a series out of it. But yes, they are indeed done.
I mean, Kevin Herter said they're not done. He went to Players Tribune and said, "We're not done yet."
I said, people say, yeah, well, I know you got at least 2 more games.
We'll see again.
Yeah.
They've had some. They did not play well in game 1. Game 2 is a little bit better. Now they come back to Atlanta tomorrow night. But as you said, you're really going to have to stem the tide in a hurry to get back in it down 2-0. Moving along, take 2. Ben Dansby Swanson now at 22 strikeouts in 49 at bats. He struck out. I think he's the only player in the in major leagues to do that. He leads the league in strikeouts, so he's the only player to do that. But he has struck out at least once in every game he has played, and that I think he's the only guy in Major League Baseball this season to do that. Is it time to sit?
Oh, if it ain't time to sit, Kevin, it's very, very close to it. Dansby is a guy that, once again, you talk about being a part of the greatest infield statistically last year in 2021. Dansby is a guy that when he's on, but when he's not, he seems to press more than just. It's one thing to be in a slump. It's another thing to press. He's chasing pitches. He's reading the stat sheet. He understands that he's not playing well. I mean, but sometimes, Kevin, you got like you said, you got to give him a chance to breathe and say, listen, man, you can do this, Dansby. But it ain't getting no better. And it would be one thing if other guys are playing well around him, and it don't help the guys around you ain't playing well either. Ozzy ain't playing. He ain't playing as bad as Dansby, but he ain't playing well either. So I think it's very, very close, Kevin. I think sometimes this is the uncomfortable truth of being in the majors is you are a slump away from being, either sat or sent down to AAA to get your game right. Come on, man. Like, get out of this. I mean, because the one thing you know about your people, they say, well, why you go down to AAA? You got a bunch of young, hungry guys that hope they ever get called up. And you get to go down there and work on your game. It's not, listen, the fastballs are still fastballs down there. It ain't like you get no slouches in AAA. Make no mistake about it. They are pros. They just a phone call away from getting called up. So yes, Kevin, if it's not time for him to sit, it's very, very close because as you mentioned, You don't want to start being in the only category in the majors. I'm the only guy doing this.
Unless I'm the only guy with 800.
Oh, if I got to hit it every game, I get that. But yeah, I think sometimes when you talk about, I mean, what he makes up for defensively, it still doesn't take. You got to be an offensive contributor, and it's not there right now. And who knows? I don't know how long you sit him, but I do think it might be time for Snit to say, look, man, I don't want you to get any worse. With, like you said, we're going to need you down the stretch. But as of right now, man, you just need to go back down to AAA, man, to try to get your confidence back.
I don't know if you send him down at this point, but because he had a solid year last year, I just look at it and say, hey, you have an off day today. Maybe don't play on Friday and see if you can't just clear your mind and start over, because he's played 14 games in 14 days. I don't think anybody else has played shortstop, struck out in every game. You're on a clip. I mean, quite frankly, you're on a clip to strike out 240, 250 times. That's not good. Now, I know we're in the age of some people don't care about strikeouts. I do. Used to be 100 was bad. Now you get to 200 strikeouts, you're really bad at the plate. And Dansby's on pace for about 250. So take a day today, take tomorrow, support your team, clear your mind, and see if you just can't, start anew, because again, he's hitting 143, and I think not all 143s are created equal. Again, if you're striking out half the time, that's a whole lot worse than a guy who's hitting it hard right at somebody batting 143, because at least there's a potential for hit. There's potential to move a runner. Maybe it's just bad luck and they'll start to fall. But again, I think Dansby's in a bad way at the plate right now, and I don't see, unless it's just Marlins pitching, but I don't see what's going to get him out of that without maybe a day or two to say, look, sit down, get away from it for a second, and come back and see if we can't have a different or a better approach, a fresh mental mindset to getting it done, because it is rough right now. Of course, it's not just Dansby, but Dansby plays every day, so we're going to focus on that a whole lot more. All right, Ben, take 3. Apparently, there's a video out on the interwebs where Mike Tyson punched a dude on a plane. And you could say, dude, that Mike Tyson guy is a jerk. But you watch the video. The guy sitting behind him is sitting there in his ear for a while, trying to annoy Mike Tyson. And finally, Mike Tyson said, yo, bro, that's enough. Whap! And got him a couple of times and, made him bleed a little bit. Nobody makes me bleed my own blood. No, made him bleed a little bit. And so everybody's calling out Mike Tyson. I have a different approach. So my question here takes 3. Who would you not take a run at if you saw them in public? Because I'm sorry. I know Mike Tyson's on the other side of 50. I'm not messing with that dude. I'm not sitting behind him going, yo, Mike, what's up? I'm not trying to make him mad and get him upset while we're in a confined space, much less, just for no reason. Who are you not making a run at in public?
Oh, Tyson Fury. Not messing with him. He's like Shaq that can box. Deontay Wilder. Not messing with him. That's another guy. John Bones Jones. Leave him alone. Those are guys
that all fight for a living.
Exactly.
What about another? Mike Tyson fight for a living.
Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald said he don't want to talk. Leave him alone. Right? You know what I'm not really going to mess with? I'm not really going to mess with Shaq either, because it's not so much I know that Shaq can hurt me. It's the fact that if he really wanted to, Kevin, if he grabs you, what are you going to do? And I don't get these things, right? You wake up in the morning. You have a flight to catch. Oh, my God. I'm on a flight with Mike Tyson. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to mess with Mike Tyson. Why? Because he's not going to mess with me. He's Mike Tyson. Now, if you look at the tape, Mike Tyson ain't hitting him like he can really hit him. How do I know? Because that guy can still talk. Like that true. Guy looked at, there's a guy that's commentating the whole thing, and then you see the other guy going back and forth with him. And I'm like, look, man, I'm sorry. No, this is the real answer. It just happened to be Mike Tyson. There isn't a person who is a celebrity, whether you act, whatever, entertain, whatever. I don't want to be hassled. Leave me alone, man. Leave me alone. I don't want to deal with it. You don't mess with a guy like Pac-Man Jones, ain't the biggest dude in the world. He would have jumped on that dude. You want to get your behind whooped at 50,000 feet? Keep on coming at me, bro. Where are we in society, Kevin, when Mike Tyson can't even get peace? Are we crazy? Or you've lost your mind? Think about that. air traffic control or the pilot or the stewardess is saying, there's a guy in the back getting pummeled. Getting pummeled by who? Mike Tyson.
I don't know if Mike Tyson's riding in the back. I mean, it looked like he was in the
I'm sorry,
NIC.
there's a guy in first class.
Yeah, the back of first class.
The back of first class. Messing with Mike Tyson. And they're like this.
I will say,
Mike Tyson?
I will say this. I don't know what airline he was on, but those seats look nice.
They did look nice. I mean, the thing is, right? Because if you could look, right? Whoever he's looking at is a long ways away from him. Like, where's the guy filming from? And the thing is, right? The thing is, what the guy did is what people say. Hey, man, you think somebody crazy enough to mess with Mike Tyson? In today's world, listen. Let me tell y'all something, man. In the days of going viral, some of y'all are really risking life and limb,
thinking you won't get slapped in the face.
Because the thing is this: he was all knotted up. Now you take it a step further. Was Mike Tyson wrong? No, he was not. Because people look. I'm just saying, man. People are high strung, man. I wouldn't mess with Boogie Cousins. I wouldn't mess with Marshawn Lynch. He looked like he's uptight. James Harrison.
I don't know if it has to do with uptight. It's much like, dude, will you just shut up for a second?
Well, Kevin, think about this for a second. Okay, Kevin, listen. You've been noticed before. I mean, you do radio for a living. You've been noticed out. But most of the time, it's, hey, you Kevin, yeah, what's up? Not, hey, Kevin, if somebody's heckling you thinking, because this is the thing. We act like certain things are because you're a celebrity or a public figure. No, we all irritable. We all have attitudes. Like, if you really break it down, no one wakes up and goes, all right, Kevin, you always talk about the road rage. You go, listen, man,
true.
I'm not in the mood. We're never in the mood. Listen, we want the things we do on the road to be accepted. Everything you do, unacceptable. We ain't talking about it. That's it. That's the contract. You're in a hurry. No one else is. I got to beat this like, you can.
My rules of the road.
So all I'm saying is, fella, whoever you are, you're going to get 72 hours, 48 hours of fame. You should be thanking God you're close enough to him that you ain't get to meet him because you messing with Mike Tyson. You are crazy. I mean, that's, to me, I think it's just crazy because Mike Tyson, to me, if you look at what he's doing now, he seems to be like he's still Iron Mike, but he seems to be a lot more calmer.
He is, but he's still got a little bit.
Go watch his training tapes.
I mean, I understand, like, he is a calm down, but dude still has a tattoo on his face. Like, he's still got a little bit of, like, I'm not messing with that guy.
Listen, all I'm saying is, listen, go watch the first Hangover. When he hit old boy.
Yeah, Stu went down like a sack of a potato.
I mean, it was like, I mean, when he hit him, that's it. You only heard his hand making contact with his face, and old boy's like, oh my God. Like, he hit the ground like, why'd you take his tiger? Oh, what's a wham? I got it. Let's go. Yeah. I mean, what's up? Do. I can feel it. Take it with a guy. Wham! I mean, he distracted him like, that's him right there. I'm going to knock him out. That's Mike Tyson. I mean, in a sense, everybody see Mike Tyson go, hey, dude, I want to kind of see him hit somebody, not me. So, hey, fella, whoever you were, fella, you lucky, man. Thank your lucky stars, man, that all you saw was stars because you tripping.
Yeah, I'm not making a run.
No. Hey,
Mike Tyson, did you see him in Mike Tyson Punch Out?
Yes.
The guy was standing up like, no, yes. I'm not doing that. They didn't just do that in the video game, right? It was like he had the ability to just that uppercut, send you to the dark side. I'm not messing with Mike. Hey, Mike, how's it going? Listen, I just want to enjoy my flight. You got it, champ. I'm good. We'll come back. Let's take 3. D. Orlando Ledbetter going to join us. We're talking Falcons draft 1 week out. When we come back, it's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back here, 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop, glad you're making us a part of your day. We're 1 week away from the draft. Falcons sit at number 8. Joining us here from the AJC, AJC.com, D. Orlando Ledbetter joins us. Daryl, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good, Kevin and Ben. Thanks for having me on the show.
All right, 1 week out. What's in the Falcons' brain with a team that needs everything?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. They're certainly going best player. A couple different scenarios could unfold. One where you see him getting Garrett Williams, maybe one where Evan Neal drops to him, or one maybe where they take the edge rusher and Jermaine Johnson. So just kind of playing through all these mock drafts, getting information out of the other cities, and trying to see which way we believe the Falcons are going to go. Those are 3 good picks we have circulating right now.
I mean, dear Orlando, in your mind, which is the best of those 3 scenarios? I mean, Jermaine Johnson is the guy that obviously came over from Georgia to Florida State last year to go on to be ACC Defensive Player of the Year. Evan Neal was supposed to be the clear-cut number 1 overall pick. I mean, in your opinion, which one is the best scenario in your opinion?
Yeah, the best one in my opinion would be to get Evan Neal, because then you got a tackle that could play right away. Maybe on the right side, and then maybe take over on the left later on. We know the issues up front have been, major with them giving up all the sacks and not being able to run the ball. So that would definitely be one. In this scenario too, there is Malik Willis still out there, maybe Kyle Hamilton from Notre Dame. So Evan Neal would be a steal. Jermaine Johnson would help the defense. Kyle Hamilton would be good in that secondary. And, Malik Willis kind of scares me a little bit because he's 6 foot, not real accurate, but very athletic, could, dazzle the crowd. But, you haven't really seen the athletic quarterbacks, unless you go with Patrick Mahomes, win the Super Bowl there. So, a lot of different things to unpack there for the Atlanta Falcons.
Daryl, something Ben and I have discussed on the show. I'll be interested to get your thoughts here on Atlanta, who's kind of committed to maybe the players don't think so, but from the outside looking at it, kind of committed to the rebuild here. Would there be interest in trading back and trying to pick up maybe a second first in next year's draft, where, especially at the quarterback position, there might be some better perceived talent there?
Yeah, no question about it. I think you want to amass picks anyway, because you get the players on that 5-year, 4-year contract. And like we said, they got a lot of things they have to build out. I know that they wanted to build out the team, keep Matt Ryan, and then drop the new quarterback in there later. But, the owner wanted to go after Deshaun, and that kind of threw that plan out the window. They had to trade Matt. And now they still want to build out the team, but I don't think Marcus Mariota is a long-term answer for him at quarterback. So that's where they're at. The more picks, the better. The more shots at getting, good players. You want to stack some positions, and the more picks you have, the better you can stack those positions.
All right, dear. So how tradable is the number 8 spot? I know people have said, look, this draft is deep, and talent-wise, there may not be a whole lot of difference between the guy at 20 and the guy at 10. I mean, if you want to trade back, how tradable, in your estimation, is number 8?
It's very tradable. The key is if people want the quarterback, they can come up to 8 and get him. If he gets past Carolina at 6, and, we're projecting the tackle for Carolina, Charles Cross. They too have bad line issues. So, if they don't take the quarterback, 8 is going to be in play. And, look for Pittsburgh maybe to come up. The Saints, I can imagine the Saints and the Falcons helping each other out, but there is history between the 2 teams in Fontenot and Loomis. But the Saints or the Steelers could come up to get Malik Willis, and they both are positioned to do so. The Saints better than the Steelers. So they may even go all the way up to 5 if they think Carolina's going to take them, if that's who they want as their future quarterback. But they can sit where they're at and take Kenny Pickett too. So Eight can definitely become in play. Depends on who wants Malik Willis.
I mean, the Orlando, obviously, Jay Matthews comes out and said, I mean, dude, they're not in a rebuild, which I've never heard Jake Matthews say anything. And when he finally does, he's saying things that are obviously nonsense. But I get he has to say that. If the Falcons, I mean, in this division with Tom Brady coming back, it was going to be hard. Tom Brady's the best player. Carolina may have the best team. Not, if they can get a quarterback, New Orleans is New Orleans. Regardless of what the Falcons get, at number 8, how much behind the 8 ball are they still with the fact that Marcus Mariota, as you mentioned, is not going to be the guy moving forward for the future?
Yeah, they had their meeting that day, and the coach probably, the players repeat whatever the coaches tell them, and so coach is the only one running around here saying they're not rebuilding. So that's where nobody even asked Jake if they were rebuilding. He just offered it up. So, it's what they lost. The franchise quarterback. The line's been bad. The defense has been bad. Couldn't stop the run. Couldn't rush the passer. I mean, they got too many things wrong, and you can't fix all of them in one draft. So, 2 drafts. So, the guys last year came in, and, they played, but they didn't do much, other than Kyle Pitts, and he only had 1 touchdown. The second-round pick deal was a nickelback, didn't even play in his position. The third-round pick, I can't remember who that was. So, all those guys got a lot of snaps, but they didn't do much. So, they got to get better in second year, and then you got to get some more rookies in here. And, hopefully you can get some impact rookie there with the 8th pick.
And Daryl, obviously, Kyle Pitts did wonderful on the field. Didn't have the points on the board production that I think you wanted, but as you said, the rest of the draft class kind of didn't do a whole lot. How do you evaluate that with what we have to go off of with Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot, and kind of how they've evaluated the draft to this point, or is it still too early to really be fair about that?
Well, I mean, at the end of the year, we went back and looked at all the rooks, and they got a lot of playing time. Graham, Tyquan Graham, Ade Ogunjobi, Avery Williams. He was with the offensive players this week. That's something to watch. He played some at nickel. The Darren Hall kid played a little bit at cornerback. I mean, they made it through games. They didn't look out of place, but didn't post a lot of numbers either. So, we'll just have to think that maybe they'll grow from that, do that first year to second year growth spurt and get better with more time on the field.
And Jay, that 3rd-round pick, Daryl, was Jalen Mayfield out of Michigan, who you were thinking of there.
There you go. Yeah, Jalen started, had one of the lowest grades in the league, but, they think he can get better. So we'll just have to see.
Obviously, the Orlando, when you think about this year's draft as well as last year, both second-year guys and the first-year guys have to be key contributors because they don't have a lot of money. Or it seems as though everybody they signed in free agency was like signing 1-year deals. Alden Tate, and you're talking about Lorenzo Carter and that nature. Who in 2021 is going to have to make a big jump in 2022? And I mean, outside of the number 8 overall pick, if it's like an Evan Neal or a Jermaine Johnson, where those guys are going to be filling starters, how much behind the 8 ball are you when you are already a young team with not a lot of depth, not a lot of experience, and those guys got to come in NFL ready?
Yeah, no doubt. Ade Ogunjobi played a lot. Didn't see him making too many plays. Like to see him make some plays. Lorenzo Carter is a pro, so he should be somebody that they can count on. You need Deion Jones to step back up. They got a big defensive tackle up there and Keith Vincent Taylor. But the 1-year contracts, Ben, I think are good because, hey, those guys are motivated. They got to play. They got to put some good football tape out there because they don't know if they're going to be back here or anywhere else around the league. So you saw Deron Harmon, he didn't get signed. He was on a 1-year deal. A couple other guys, Stephen Means' contract went out. Fabian Monroe was on a 1-year deal. And Monroe and Harmon played over 1,000 snaps last year. So, they got to replace them. They think they've had upgrades there. So with Casey Hayward and either Richie Grant or, somebody, or Eric Thomas or Eric Harris, I'm sorry. So, they got to upgrade all across the board. The 1-year contract, I think, or you getting motivated veterans. So they're not going to be backing down. They're going to be trying to play their best. And, if they're if they're selling the we're not rebuilding thing, those veterans on those 1-year contracts are going to have to step up and play very well and keep their places in the league, kind of like what Cordell Patterson did last year.
The Orlando Ledbetter, AJC.com, joining us here on 3 and Out. And Daryl, where do you think, obviously outside of their first pick at 8, where can they improve themselves the most in the draft by the players that should be available to them?
Yeah, the deal here is this is a deep draft at wide receiver. They need wide receivers. In my mock, I had him. The latest mock, I had Garrett Wilson going to him, but I since just did my mock for Sunday, and I got Jermaine going to him. So the wide receiver position, I did that because you can come back to the wide receiver position because it's a lot of depth there. And, maybe you can get Pickens in the second or the third. I don't think he slipped to the third. But there's some wide receivers. There were 12 wide receivers that ran sub 4.4 at the combine. So you don't got to jump on a receiver at 8. You can get one at 38. That's going to be just as good as the one at 8. So, that's why I think they go defense, go best player available, add a running back in the 3rd round. Bryce Hall is the number 1 back. They did interview James Cook and Zamir White. Zamir White's a power back. Arthur Smith likes power back. So maybe they stay close and get some of these Georgia kids off of the national championship team.
And Orlando, I mean, if they you talk about guys like just say Jermaine Johnson is there at 8, and then you talk about a George Pickens at 38, then you get a Zamir White or James Cook, in the 3rd round or what may have you. How much of really going? I mean, ACC, SEC is going to help. This Falcons team contend because, like I said, I mean, Tom Brady is Tom Brady. They kept, I mean, this same Falcons team kept the Saints from going to the playoffs. And I mean, I've heard some rumors that Baker Mayfield's supposed to go to Carolina, but they are messed up there as well.
Yeah, no question about it. The NFC South is, it's all Bucks right now. But the Falcons it's not really about next year. It's about building a foundation for the future. I know they wanted to build it out like what Kansas City did. They built the team. They had Alex Smith at quarterback, and then they went and drafted Mahomes. And when he was ready to play, they had a Super Bowl contending team. So the Falcons are all about amassing talent at this point. And SEC and ACC is the way to go. For the most part, that's where most of the players are. You'll go see a lot of them drafted from those conferences. But, they won't leave a stone unturned throughout the country with some of the guys they can draft. I know we've heard, we did a story on the top players from the HBCUs. Florida A&M has a safety. Marquise Bell, Fayetteville State has a cornerback. Josh Williams. There's a lineman from Southern that is interviewed with the Falcons, Tyree Carter. So, there are a lot of players all over the place, and I know the Falcons know about them. And at some point, they're going to pull a trigger on what they believe are some talented players that can come in here and help them get this thing turned around. They got 4 straight losing seasons, so they got to get on top of things up here in the talent department.
Daryl, finally, obviously, you mentioned earlier Marcus Mariota, not the long-term answer at quarterback. Next year's draft has some quarterbacks that people find exciting, at least at this point, in next year's draft. And I saw somebody put out there, hey, Marcus Mariota is good enough to win you some games. He's not going to get you to the playoffs, but he could be potentially good enough so that you're not picking in the top 10. Is that actually a good thing at this point for Atlanta?
Yeah, I think because I don't think you tank or you lose or you build on a losing mentality. But yeah, I understand the double-edged sword. I mean, once you start losing, it's hard to get it turned around. But you're just not going to be good enough to win some of these games. So they're going to go and fight and play hard. He was, I think his record was 19-38 as a starter. Just wasn't, didn't really do much for you past the first read. people got enough tape on him. They started jumping the first read, and then he started running and getting hurt. Just bad. So maybe a couple years away, he's gotten better, but that's not usually the case. So they're gonna try to play within his limitations. And for the big ring pitcher, no, you don't want to win next year. You want to get in the draft, but you don't need a losing mentality creeping into your locker room either.
Certainly. Orlando Ledbetter joining us here, AJC.com. Daryl, always a pleasure. Thanks so much.
All right, no problem, guys. Take care, Ben and Kevin. You all have a great day.
Will do. You too. Orlando Ledbetter, always enjoy talking Falcons football with him. And Ben, as he said, look, you don't want that losing mentality, but as a fan, you're also saying, Marcus Mariota, former high draft pick. We're not going to be contending for any Super Bowls with him, not because of him specifically, but because of him and the roster he's got to work with. But, is he good enough to keep you out of the top 10 drafted next year? And people say, well, that's a bad attitude to have. But it's like, well, is it? If you're thinking he's got one, maybe 2 years on this team, and you see, Stroud or Bryce Young or one of these guys you really like, you don't want to have to jump up 7-8 spots to try to get them. That's why maybe trade back this year if you kind of see down the road. But if you're in the top 5, obviously you're going to have a great chance to potentially land a quarterback you really like that is going to be more the long-term answer than what you have currently.
Is Marcus Mariota good enough to keep you out of the top 10? Yes. Will he? Probably not, because look at the cast around him. Look at the cast around him, though, Kevin. Once again, I remember it was a time the way, right? You knew every receiver that played for the Falcons. Now, you don't know none of them. I know who Alden Tate is. I don't know if I see him. I know who Cordell Patterson is, right? I know who Kyle Pitts is.
He's also the running back.
Exactly. And the thing about this is, but I go back to what he said, though. If you can get Jermaine Jones in the first round, Kenny Pickett in the second. George Pickett in the second round. Maybe a Zamir White or a nice running back in the third. You putting together a nice draft, because I think what happens is it does mean something when I come in and I know it's one thing to want to play, another thing you have to play. You're playing. But that's going to speed up your learning curve. That's going to make it so that, look, you're going to learn. It's an on-the-job training type business, man. You're going to learn as you go, take the bumps and the bruises. But Marcus Mariota is playing for his football future in the present. While we say, hey, man, he ain't the guy, all right, he get to go out there and try to prove it.
We got more to come. We'll continue to break down what Orlando had to say when we return. It's 3 and Out, Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you here on this Thursday. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop on 3 and Out. D. Orlando breaking it down with us there on the Atlanta Falcons. And Ben, you kind of touched on it there. Best player available, he said Jermaine Johnson out of Florida State via Georgia. Maybe a wide receiver in the second round, of which there should still be plenty. And a running back in the third round, of which there should be plenty. I think if you have a mock draft with 2 UGA guys going to the Falcons, history would say that's probably not going to happen. Just because for whatever reason, the Falcons haven't done that. But that would be the makings of a nice draft, as you said, where you have addressed problem areas, which there are plenty, with guys that you know can play, or at least in the case of Zamir Wright, has played in it. I mean, anymore in the NFL, he's played in a system where it was Zamir. You are a big power back, but you weren't necessarily the back. It was you. James Cook got a little bit. You had, Kenny McIntosh getting a little bit. When you come to the NFL, we want you to be on the field. But guess what? Cordarrelle Patterson might be in there on third down to catch a pass. You might be a situational back, which I think in college football we're seeing more and more of, just so guys don't get worn down, guys don't take as many hits. That's not a bad thing. And I think if you can get a running back like that in round 3 and get a big power back that Arthur Smith likes, that'd be a nice offset, because obviously Mike Davis did not play the power back role very well. I mean, I know the blocking wasn't great either, but did not play that role very well for Atlanta last year.
Yeah, and I think you said it when you talk about being a situational player. Every player in the NFL is a situational player. Some guys just get to be, on the field a little bit more. I mean, what the old lineman and the quarterback is not coming off the field. If you talk about the running back position for the Atlanta Falcons, I mean, since Michael Turner left, it's been a little bleak. Because that was the last time you had really a bell cow type running back. I mean, Devonta Freeman, I mean, he wasn't bad going into his contract year. After he got that contract, I'm not saying he was a different player, but he has, outside that commercial he used to be on every freaking day, you ain't seen much of Devonta Freeman. I do think, Kevin, when you talk about what a guy like Zamir White, what a guy like James Cook, what those, I think those guys bring to the table is they're young, they're hungry, and they're not beat up. I think when you look at what Atlanta wants to do, they want to run the football. They want to run in between the tackles. They want to be able to move the chains on third down. They want to take the ball out of Marcus Mariota's hand on third down, because you want to go from unless it's third and manageable. Now, the one thing Marcus Mariota brings to the table is, I mean, he's a dual threat quarterback, so you can't get him out there on the perimeter, but every time he runs the football, he's making himself susceptible to getting hurt. And who's the backup? Well, McElroy. I'm sorry. Is it McElroy?
I think it's so.
Felipe Franks. I just think that when you look at what this Falcon team needs, yes.
And to give Josh Rosen another run.
Yeah, Josh Rosen.
Maybe he's
Felipe,
on to his
15th
or 16th. Yeah, however many.
Yeah, he's trying. He's on the Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Do you get like a special decal if you play for all 32 teams?
Listen, man, you know how many times that boy walked through the facility like, "It's a coach, man. I'm not a coach." Oh, what's your name? Josh Rosen. This man was 10th, 11th pick. He's been on a different team every year. I remember when Josh Rosen came out, people said the narrative was you're gonna have to make the playbook a lot more intensive because he can get bored with it. I'm like, look,
he's learned a lot of them.
No, he has. I mean, he really has. He's been around, and I think too, though, this Falcons team. Okay, I mean, Kevin, you say if you're not expected to contend, right? Which is no
but
place.
You can't. I realize you can't come out there and say that, but behind closed doors. You can't tell me that Terry Fontenot hasn't gone to somebody in that staff and go, fellas, there's only so much we can do. We're not going to be good. Like, I mean, there's only, you know what I mean? It's like we have no money. We got rid of Matt Ryan. We're playing a quarterback that nobody necessarily wanted a season ago. I mean, you have to be able to look, again, publicly, hey, season tickets, baby. We're out there trying to win. Behind closed doors, you got to be looking at going, look, we can only do so much to fill all the holes that we have. There's no possible way you're going to contend right now. You got to rebuild this thing.
Yeah, and look, this Falcons team, Kevin, as you mentioned, when you need everything, like I need everything right now, it doesn't look good. I think what you're saying the right things in public. I mean, D. Orlando said they ain't even asked Jake Matthews to talk about, we're not in the rebuild. He's just offered that up. And then he goes, and then he gets done with the press conference, and the public relations guys is going, I told you one thing, Jake. But I will say, right, I was on a team my rookie year that had a bunch of young guys. I was on my second year, it was a bunch of young guys. It's hard to win, even if you got young talent. But hopefully, you get a guy in Arthur Smith. Once again, he's still trying to win over the locker room. We forget about that. Terry Fontenot, a guy who built everything and love in New Orleans for 18 years. So you got two guys that seemingly want to work together. A guy you trust to get the team, a guy you trust to coach the team, and Arthur Smith. But as you mentioned, Kevin, I mean, a lot of these guys come from winning programs. They're bringing winning attitudes. That's great. That's great. But the NFL is a different league, man. It's a different monster. I do think Marcus Mariota gives you the best opportunity when you talk about a guy that's trying to have a resurgence in his career. Cordell Patterson wanted to be a Falcon because nobody else was going to be willing to give him the contract he wanted. Having a banner year he had last year. Kyle Pitts is what you could build around. Jermaine Johnson, George Pickens, or a big time receiver, maybe like a big time running back, and you add depth. It's gonna look good on paper, but you know when the rubber meets the road, you're gonna have to go out there and compete.
Look, I'm not advocating for stinking in the locker room. Like I get, but you can't tell me that the front office is like, look, man, we're gonna be bad. And look, and it's like it might not be the worst thing if Marcus only wins 4 games. Like that's all I'm saying. But again, he's one of those players that I think I don't know if they're like tweener guys, but he's good enough to not get you in the top 10, but probably not good enough to get you into the playoffs and make a deep run. At the same, I mean, I know he had some playoff highlights, but again, what did the Titans do with him at quarterback?
Yeah,
I mean, so I think that's one of those things where like he might be.
The fact they got rid of you and they got Ryan Tannehill, woo. All I
think we'll end it on that note.
Well, Kevin, this is another thing too. He was the number 2 pick in that draft. Who's the number 1 pick? Oh, that would be Jameis Winston, who plays for who? The Saints. It's in what? The same division. So both guys, number 1, number 2 overall pick are fighting for their NFL lives. The difference is one has a good team around him. The other has a bunch of guys around him. You got to try to figure this thing out.
We're trying to stay in their present roles in the league. We got more to come. 3 and Out, Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back here. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop, glad you're making us a part of your day. Streaming live, ESPNCoastal.com on your mobile device with the ESPN app. A lot to come in the final hour. If you missed it from hour one, we'll hear from Josh Aubrey, Statesboro Herald. We're talking Georgia Southern football. Also look at the draft 1 week away, Ben Troop. And then the Braves off tonight, getting ready to head home for a series against Miami. Hopefully they've got the Freddie Freeman hangover done for, finished.
It's time to get back to the winning ways and let the Marlins be the team to get back to your winning ways. And like I said, team, stay ready. I know I'm getting my Christian Go-Kale on. If any one of those pitchers from the Marlins throw at any other players with the Braves, Snit, I'm telling you right now, we are clearing the bench. Because, Kevin, I mean, we good for a good bench clearing at least once or twice a year. Let's get it out the way. Just go ahead and if the Marlins want to come with that nonsense, let's get right. Don't get mad because we defend the World Series.
I like to
champ.
see Brian Snicker throw hands at something. That would be fun. So get out there. I have enough of this crap.
He gonna have to connect because that shoulder gonna be thrown out of place.
Yeah.
How you hire the manager on the DL for missing it? Yeah. He gonna be out.
He'll go out there and go, fellas, for the last time, quit throwing at Ronnie.
Then I say, Ronnie ain't even out here, y'all throwing at him.
Exactly. We'll come back. Final hour of 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network, streaming live, ESPNCoastal.com. We are 1 week away from the draft, Ben Troop. The Jaguars are on the clock. They're at number 1, and a lot of people think it's Aiden Hutchinson. Some late betting action that it could be Trayvon Walker, maybe somewhere else. But a lot of people think it's set in stone. Aiden Hutchinson going to go to Jacksonville, and we talked to D. Orlando about the Falcons there at 8, who could literally do anything with their draft, make it interesting. And again, I think that's what makes the draft interesting, because we think we know, but we don't know. And we did this before. Bill, we put out I think in the last couple of years we've done the draft. We'll put out our top 10. Like here's the order. Here's how I think it's going to go. I think the best anybody's done is like 6. And that's like just picking the 10 best players basically in order, like people in the right draft spot. And we did the top 25. And I think the person had 6 of the top 10, finished the top, the top 25, the first round of the draft, finished the first round with 6. So it's like, once you get, like, who knows how it's going to shape up when it's all said and done. I mean, heaven forbid the Jags don't take Aiden Hutchinson. There's going to be a lot of people looking at their draft powers going, what, wait a minute.
Whoa.
Let's change our strategy here real quick, because now somebody's going to be available maybe we weren't banking on. So again, 1 week from tonight, countdown will be on to the Jags. And is it Aiden Hutchinson?
I think it is going to be, Kevin, because the thing about it is what you just said. A lot of the draft is like, you kind of like make it think you want things to flow. If Aiden Hutchinson don't go, just say with all this trash talking ends up being Evan Neal, right? Detroit goes, wait a minute, I could get a Michigan kid to go to Michigan, to go to Detroit. Then you got Trayvon Walker, right? Now we start talking about which one of these quarterbacks is going to go. Because I do think the quarterbacks are the wild card, because while Trayvon Walker is slated to go number 2, when Jared Goff is obviously at Detroit, when you can get a guy like Kenny Pickett, I'm going to say this. I don't like the terms. I don't like the phrase, I think we might have went too high on him. Like, dude, it's the draft. Like, all these guys are a crapshoot. We don't know. We've had certain mock drafts, or most people we talk to, Kevin, say, oh, while Kayvon Thibodeau is great at higher than Aiden Hutchinson, I still think Aiden Hutchinson should go number 1, because I think and while Kayvon Thibodeau is a better overall, he got a higher ceiling than Aiden Hutchinson. Aiden Hutchinson just fits. I'm like, what? It's like, look, pick who you want, go with it. That's what makes the NFL draft so intriguing, because you got so many receivers. I don't see no running backs going in the first round. It is a lot. You got a lot of O linemen, you got a lot of D linemen, and you got Georgia. Georgia gonna decide this freaking draft, because you got a lot of guys coming from Georgia. I mean, Jordan Davis. Listen, Nakobe Dean, probably the best player on the defense. Jordan Davis is the most impactful. Trayvon Walker is the freak, and Trayvon Walker gonna go over all of them. He's gonna be the first one going from that team, and that's before you get to George Pickens. That's before you get to Sign. That's before you get to Zamir White. That's before you get to the James Cook, and so on and so forth. So I just think that, Kevin, this draft is going to be very, very interesting. But the Jacksonville Jaguars are picking number 1 overall in back-to-back drafts. They seem as though, Kevin, I mean, with all reports, they're going to add another GM, but you know they're going to add the GM after the draft, not before the draft.
Assistant
GM. I don't know. I don't even know how that works. I mean, do the assistant GM get a different office, or do he got to share office with Trent Baalke? Who knows? That's why Jacksonville is Jacksonville. But I do think, when it's all said and done, Kevin, I think you go with the hype pick, the I guess the safe pick. Because here's the thing: how many of us didn't know who Aiden Hutchinson was until he played Ohio State? I ain't know who he was, but you hear his name so much between Ohio State and now, you feel, oh, that's Aiden Hutchinson. That's Aiden Hutchinson. Then he's in New York. Is Aiden Hutchinson, to me, is Aiden Hutchinson a better defensive prospect than Nakobe Dean? Nope. Better defensive prospect than Jordan Davis? Nope. Better defensive prospect than Kayvon Thibodeau? Nope. Than Kyle Hamilton? Nope. He's going to be number 1 overall pick. So I just think that, wow, the draft is so intriguing to me, because I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I be thinking I be knowing what I'm looking at, Kevin. I be thinking I be knowing evaluating guys. And I'm saying to myself, if Kayvon Thibodeau was the number 1 recruit in high school 3 years ago, he didn't taper off. Pac-12, defensive player of the year. Led the league in sacks, I think, 2 years ago. Get the return punts. Aiden Hutchinson. I'm telling you, I be saying to myself.
I think when you get into decisions like that, it's like anything else. It's you start talking yourself out of decisions. You know, like when you go buy a car, it's like, ooh, I really like that car. Man, but it's red. I kind of wanted blue. Maybe I can go to this other one. I don't like it as much. There's some things I do. So it's like you start, like you have what you want in front of you, and you talk yourself. And I'm not just saying that about Jag specifically.
Yeah.
I think a lot of teams do that, where you have so long post workouts, where you're post combine, your scouts have turned in their evals, you're putting together your draft board, and you sit there. And it's like, we got 2 weeks to talk about this.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I don't like him as much as I thought I did. It's like, I find sometimes when you go with your initial evaluation of like, yeah, initially we didn't like it. And then we kind of talked ourselves into it, and it is what it is. Like, no,
it's that room too now.
But usually the scouts will, if you have a good scouting department, it's like, hey, these are guys that fit what you want to do. These are guys that we have great high. Whenever you start hearing like the scouts look at this, you start saying, well, I just like this guy over here. Okay, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I think the longer with any big decision like that, you sit and talk about it, you could probably talk yourself off of anything. And how much do you even say, well, we really like Aiden Hutchinson? Do you stick on that out of stubbornness? Sometimes they look, we like him.
Well, yeah.
Quit talking yourself out.
Well, Kevin, hold on. This is what a draft room is, though. It's like if you got 3 guys in the car, you got a driver, you got 2 passengers. You got the passenger right beside the driver, and you got the passenger behind the driver, in the back seat, right? The owner, in a sense, right, is a passenger. They ain't driving this thing. The GM is driving, and the head coach is the passenger with the owner in the back. I don't think necessarily there's a wrong way to evaluate players. I just think you got 3 different views going on, and that comes up in the war room, right? That draft room, I go back to 2006. Now I cannot confirm or deny this, but this is what the reports coming out of 2006. Matt Leinart goes to USC. Only played in national championships, won 2 national championships, won a Heisman. Jeff Fisher went to USC, head coach of the Titans. Vince Young played Matt Leinart to win that Rose Bowl and national championship in 2006 from Houston. Bud Adams from Houston. Norm Chow, formerly the offensive coordinator from where? USC. Norm Chow and Bud Adams wanted Vince. Jeff Fisher wanted Matt Leinart. Now, obviously they end up going with Vince Young. I remember this. This is when I knew. I ain't never heard this before. I remember Norm Chow asked Bo Scaife, hey, man, you think you're going to be able to pick up this offense? He goes, yeah. Think about Bo Scaife, and I love Skis, love VY the legend. Bo and VY both went to Texas. That's the homie. So you asked me about a friend and a teammate. Now, I don't think either one was wrong, but Kevin, think about this. If you're the owner, you want your voice to mean something.
Yeah, you pay for everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But at the same time, this same owner, even though may he rest in peace, we were playing the Houston Texans, and he was there because he lives in Houston. He didn't leave, he stayed in Houston. I was sitting out, it was after a game. I'm just sitting down in the chair in Steve McNair's locker. I'm just sitting in a chair. I'm just sitting down, like tying my cleats. He comes up to me and said, good job, Steve. That's with my name, with a big old troop on the back. So my thing is,
you should be like, do I get Steve's check?
I wish. Oh my God. I mean, I just think that that's the thing. People go, why is it taking so long? Because it's difference of opinion. Like what you see in a good player, what I see in a good player could be different. And we both decision makers. But you the GM and I'm the head coach, and I'm thinking, oh, come on, kid. What are you talking about? Plus you got the scouting department. It's a lot of things that go into it, but then people go, why does it take the whole 15 minutes? Because once I give it away, he's walking out. So
Honor Landry.
Honor Landry, Oklahoma. What? So I just think at the end of the day, Kevin, it's a crapshoot, man. Like I said, Gronk went second round. Wes Welker went undrafted. You know what I'm saying?
Tom Brady 6th round, yeah.
So at the end of the day, while you hope these first rounders pan out, for every first rounder that does, it's 30, 40 that don't. So, I give you, we had 2 Jamal Andersons come to the Falcons. One of them was the Dirty Bird. The other one played for Arkansas. And I don't think Jamal Anderson, the one that was the Dirty Bird, was the first rounder, but the one from Arkansas, when they drafted him, I was like, what? So all I'm saying is, it happens. It happens.
We got more to come here. 3-and-out Braves off tonight for Dansby. That might be a good thing, but we had a spot to see the Braves kind of get into a normal routine here after just a crazy start to this baseball season. It's 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Love to hear from you at Pigskin Radio on Twitter. You can see us streaming live and comment there on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Good to be back here, 3 and Out. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop. Glad you're making us a part of your day. Braves off today. They will be back tomorrow against the Marlins. Maybe a good time for the Braves to get an off day. 14 games in 14 days. Had a question from comment from earlier, Ben, and said, hey, take a day off, get momentum back, plus the the new closer they'll get back. Look, I think the Braves are fine. It's been an emotional 2 weeks, and normally baseball, there's emotion on the field, but when you just talk about games, the games themselves are kind of emotionless in that there's 162 of them. Not all of them stir you up with, I'm sorry, hey, we're handing out world championship rings. Rings a little different than, hey, it's calendar magnetic schedule night at the ballpark. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I think the Braves have been through a lot. It was a week, a literal week of patting themselves on the back for winning the World Series. And again, I'm not faulting them.
Yeah.
It was a long time.
Yeah.
Long time getting there. And as Ben said, they partied like it was 1995.
Oh, they got it in now.
If we're going to do it right. Then you go out west and you have the 3-gamer with the Dodgers, which obviously had the Freddie Freeman, Kenley Jansen going up against his old team. And I think that was enough. You've had one kind of series where it was just go out there and play baseball. San Diego took 2 out of 2 on the road against a great team. So I look at this team and say, for all their faults right now, I think now's the part of the schedule where you say, okay, let's settle down and just play baseball. Just put all the other nonsense, right? You're defending world champs. We celebrated that. I took it from Cincinnati a little bit, pushed that aside. Now we got the Marlins and Cubs coming up. Just play baseball and let's get back to business.
Yeah, but the one thing too, Kevin, is the one thing I always say about the Braves now is the Braves are not mediocre. The Braves are not a slot filler. The Braves are not just one of 30 teams. They are, the defending world champs, and whatever they do matter, and it's going to be magnified. It used to be a time to where, Freddie Freeman's early days with the Braves, no one talking about the Braves outside of the state of Georgia, outside of the state of Atlanta, outside of Braves Nation. Now everybody's talking about them. Everybody knows that Ronald Acuna is down there in Jacksonville trying to get back. Everybody's looking at Mike Soroka's what is his timeline. So when you think about a guy like Dansby Swanson, what makes it worse is they're talking about Dansby Swanson in every major media outlet because he plays for the Braves. Matt Olson is batting 400.
Yeah.
I hope for Matt Olson that when the bats really get going, he doesn't like cool off. I hope that and Matt Olson doesn't know what it's like to play with Ronald Acuna Jr. yet. Can't wait, but he doesn't even know what it's like now. And maybe that's another thing with a guy because one thing Dansby has never had to deal with is being that focal point. Like you say, Freddie's gone, but I had Freddie, I had Ozzie, I had Ronald Acuna Jr. At one point, I had Austin Riley. I had a lot of guys in the lineup that was really, really, they bats on fire to the point where it's like my game is only surging, but I don't have to worry about being the guy because I got guys like I've seen Freddie Freeman go in one slump in 12 years, one slump, and that was last year. So I do think, Kevin, sometimes that extra added pressure. People talk about pressure, but everybody ain't used to it, and it comes in different waves. Like the pressure that Ronald Acuna Jr. is going to be under, he's used to it. He was under the pressure to not just only be the best prospect, but remain that best prospect. And then he first coming to the bigs. I mean, second year, he's trying to go 40. He's trying to go 40-40. So I think that for a guy like Dansby, you sit him down and say, look, man, we need you, but we need you up here, right? We need you. I've never, it's hard to compare anything to baseball because, I mean, being a hitter with a freaking, that's one of the best pitchers in the world. And I've seen the movie, Mr. 3000. When they got dropped the freaking bill on the ground and say, that's how long, you're like, what do you do? That's how long you got to react to hit a baseball. It's like when you put it, like, what? Now to us, it look like, man, that thing look like it's taking forever. Yeah, stand in front of a fastball. Stand in front of a curveball. So I do think that Dansby is feeling it, Kevin. But I will say that he's supposed to.
And he's not the only one.
We are not calling this. Listen, Rosario. I mean, you got Ozzie. You got a bunch of friends. They just
if you're literally not hitting your weight, that's probably not.
Yeah. Good. So I do think that this Braves team is always gonna. And let's face it, this too. I mean, I got to say this now. This is the same Braves team that was beating the Braves out of people the last 4 years. So a lot of these teams, like, man, we sick of y'all. Like y'all, because regardless of how people feel, the Braves are built to maintain. Because everybody else in the division is building their team to beat them. We got to beat the Braves. We ain't done it the last 4 years. With all the moves the Mets make, with all the moves, the Phillies make and the Nats make, they still can't beat the Braves. So I do think, Kevin, some of it is, hey, man, it's early. They still trying to find their way. Don't press too much, but you just expect the Braves to figure it out. You expect them to say, man, get in the rhythm, get going. Because like you, Kevin, I want to see how it's really gonna look when they put a full, 2 weeks worth of games together from the starting pitching to the lineup to the bullpen to the DH. Because I think if they can put it together, which it's too many games, you talking about scary.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it could be one of these scariest teams in the big.
And I think that's what people are waiting on is, so much expectation of, from the jump, it's going to be 3, 4, 5 homers a night, and it's going to be, just an offensive barrage. And so far, it hasn't been that. Eddie Rosario is under 100. Alex Dickerson's batting under 100. Dansby Swanson's at 143. Guillermo Heredia is under 200. Ozzie Albies, for as good as it seems like he's playing, hitting 218. Adam Duvall is down there. I think he fell under 200. So, or it might be just over 200, like 211. So you have a lot of guys who really aren't hitting well. And this is an amazing stat. I heard them talking about it on the broadcast last night. Was the Atlanta Braves have hit, I think, 15 solo home runs in a row. And you're saying that seems strange. It is strange. You know who's hit the most home runs, or second most? I think it might be second most home runs in the big leagues. You know what? I mean, do you know what team has done that? The Braves.
Wow. So
they're in the top, but the biggest difference is they're all solo shots. Like they said, so far the Braves have hit 90%. 90% of their home runs have been solo home runs. I think they said in the modern era of baseball, there's only been 2 teams who have finished over 70%. 2. So you're hitting bombs. Unfortunately, you're the only run scoring. And I think that is look at Matt Olson. I think Matt Olson has 2 RBI on a season. One of those was a solo blast he hit himself to drive himself in. So I think from a Brave standpoint, you're hitting home runs, which is a good thing, but nobody else is getting on base to really have those gut punches. You see that all the time in Major League Baseball. Cruising along, boom, 2-run shot, 3-run shot, and all of a sudden, the game's out of control. You're going, what just happened? Right now, the Braves are hitting a bunch of solo shots, and they're not causing a whole lot of damage. And I think that is, most teams will take that. You talk about, different strategies, different sports. Hey, if Michael Jordan only drops 20 on us, we'll take that. We'll take that as long as Scottie Pippen. Hey, if Matt Olson ends up hitting 15 solo bombs, we'll take that. We'll take a solo shot from Matt Olson versus a 2-3-run shot. We'll take Austin Riley going deep solo and live to fight another day. And right now, that's, again, not a recipe for big-time offense if nobody's getting on base and everything you're doing is solo shots. And Braves, I think, hit 15 solo home runs in a row, which almost seems like an impossibility to do. Like, nobody's been on base the last 15 times they've gone yards. So that's got to turn around, and that starts with, Albies, Duvall, Rosario, Dickerson. I mean, not only is their batting average low, they're just not getting on base, period. And that's a problem. So
I know. I was just gonna say, Kevin, with everything you just said, I mean, it's funny, like you get to going about the break with everything they haven't done or could do. How much confidence do you still have in them? Because like I said, we ain't even a month into the season, and we've already given, we be talking about the Braves as if they the worst, which they are definitely gonna get it together.
Well, I'm saying, like, people have said, like, they haven't played well, and I don't know anybody in the locker room's like, yeah, we played awesome, but I think they're only a couple of games under 500 this early. It's not like they started off like 1-9, and people are going, like, y'all just wonder where, like, they're middling around 500, which, again, it's fine. As last year has shows you can be middling around 500 even after the All-Star break, and then you find that rhythm and really take off. I mean, people, and we've seen it. We've seen it time and time again. Teams like the Pirates and others, they're sitting there at the All-Star break, like, man, the Pirates only 2 games out of first at the All-Star break. Fizzle out second half because they just run out of steam. Teams get a little better scouting report on them, figure out what they like to do, and it goes down from there. I think people are looking at this Braves team going, you're expecting more because there is more, right? You're expecting more because there is more, and you're just not seeing it right now. Obviously, Acuna should be back relatively soon in that DH role, and I think that'll help a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, bad Ronald Acuna is still probably going to hit 240, 250.
And he takes the pressure off of other people, like even from a media standpoint, because he's such a big name, one of the biggest names in sports.
Yeah, puts pressure on the opposing pitcher. I mean, like I said, bad Ronald Acuna is still probably hitting 250. You hope he does better than that, but I mean, I'm saying even if he's struggling, he's still going to be out there getting on base and putting guys in position to score runs. So I think the Braves are missing that. And certainly when you objectively look at it, you really have 3 guys who are producing for you right now. Or 4. 4 out of your 9 are producing for you.
Matt Olson,
Austin Riley, Marcell Ozuna, and Travis d'Arnaud. And Travis d'Arnaud doesn't play every day because he takes time off at the catcher spot. So you really have 4 guys out of 9. And when Travis d'Arnaud's not in there, I think Manny Pena is still looking for a hit. So it just goes way down from there, and that is tough. That is tough when it's 4 guys, all of whom, by the way, bat in succession of one another. If those 4 guys don't do it, you're not getting anything. That's tough. It's hard to win against anybody doing that. And I'm like you, Ben. You got the Marlins coming up. And again, the Marlins are a good team. I don't want to talk about the Marlins like they're going to be a 50-win team. They're a good team. They are not better than Atlanta.
No.
The end. They are better, but they are not better than Atlanta. You got to have a good series back at home. And hopefully this homestand will be more about just playing baseball and less about check out our bling, check out our rings. Hey, y'all want one too? Here you go. We're having a ring giveaway night. And we're just soaking it in. And there's, again, I want to say, there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
But you can't tell me that wasn't a distraction to start the season.
Yeah, exactly.
When everything is, hey, look how great we were last year. Well, that was last year. We still got to focus on moving forward this year. And they've been off to a little bit in the win column, slow start, and half the lineup's not hitting. Well, I don't take a genius to figure that out. If half the lineup ain't hitting, you're going to have a hard time getting wins on a consistent basis. We got more to come here on this Thursday. It's 3 and Out, Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you here at 3 and Out. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop. Braves off tonight, so we got a little NBA playoff action for you. Memphis and Minnesota, 7 p.m. as the playoffs roll along. Hawks back tomorrow. They're down 2-0 to Miami, but the Grizz and the T-Wolves tonight, 7 o'clock.
John Morant, you know what I'm saying? I mean, Patrick Beverly, Big Cat, John Morant dad, I think Big Cat dad, obviously they get floor seats. They be right there talking trash to each other. I mean, I like any series that got Patrick Beverly in it because Patrick Beverly is a known antagonist. You already know. I mean, when they made it to the playoffs, man, I mean, he had like they had just won the chip, but I love Patrick Beverly, love John Morant, love Big Cat. I just love this. I love two teams that's always scratching and clawing to not just be, you know, slot fillers in the NBA. But John Morant, great young talent, Big Cat, obviously a guy that, you know, Big Cat won the freaking three-point contest in the freaking All-Star.
I was going to say, Ben, this is an interesting thought here. Early on in John Morant's career, obviously he is a tremendous basketball player. How much does he need a series win or two in the NBA playoffs? I'm not saying, you know, Memphis has got to win it, but he's obviously got a huge following, but want to win in the postseason. People talk about this. Hey, Mike Trout's the greatest baseball player going right now. He won. Well, maybe you could argue time, but for a long time, Mike Trout, number one. Maybe he slipped. Maybe he's only top 5. Either way, he's been to the playoffs one time, and has not advanced out of one round of the playoffs. His entire best, John Morant. Okay, you got Memphis in the playoffs. Want to see him advancing and pushing that team forward. I think you would see his star status shoot off. It's up there already, but want to get that postseason dub. He wants
to go on a Trae Young type run. I mean, didn't Trae Young? I mean, right, wrong, and different. He went from star to superstar right in front of our eyes last year in 2020. People don't got to like it, but I mean, he lost to the world champs. That's got to mean something. And Giannis and those guys, they might be in trouble too in this opening series they got. But I do think that John Morant, he's a star right now, Kevin, and he got the Instagram, he got the superstar. I mean, he got superstar ability. But you don't want that moniker of being really, really good, but can't propel his team out the first round. Got to get out the first round, especially in a team like Minnesota, who I think haven't been to the playoffs in like 2017.
It's a long time, and we'll have it for you. 7 o'clock pregame. They'll tip it off around 7:30 or so. Big star-studded matchup. Appreciate Josh Aubrey, Statesboro Herald, for joining us here on the show. Also, D. Orlando Ledbetter. Always enjoy talking Falcons football with him, and for all the clarity, Falcons could draft anybody. He goes, I think there's at least 3 guys they really want. Well, if those guys are gone, where do you go? There's a lot of flexibility there for the Atlanta Falcons. If you missed any portion of the show, go to ESPNCoastal.com. Go to our YouTube channel at ESPN Coastal. You can get the podcasted version of the show each and every day. And we're glad you're making us a part of your afternoon. We will see you tomorrow, 3 and Out, on Southern Pigskin Radio Network.